Hello, this Matriarch patch we're about to check out was inspired by this Roland synth. This is an Alpha Juno 1. It's similar to the Matriarch in the sense that it has only one oscillator per voice, but to thicken the sound, instead of using a second oscillator, they used chorus. Pretty sure Roland did that to keep the cost down on the Juno line of synths, but as a result, consumers had access to a pretty awesome chorus for an affordable price. Obviously, another way they kept the cost down was to replace the knob or slider per function with this stupid encoder. Hate menu diving. Just looking for chorus. Okay, got this pretty nice sounding organ patch. Let's hear what it sounds like with and without chorus. Let's try just a single note. Obviously, it makes a big difference, really thickens up the sound. So when the Matriarch's in 4-voice paraphonic mode, obviously there's just one oscillator per voice. So I was wondering what would it sound like if we use chorus to thicken up the sound. We could obviously just use a good chorus pedal to do this, but we've got a killer analog delay built right into the Matriarch. In fact, this delay is the whole reason I decided to buy this synth. So let's see if we can use the Matriarch's delay to get a good chorus sound. But before we get going, there's an index in the description if you just want to skip to the examples. And here's a short demo of some of the sounds I came up with this patch. Let's talk a little bit about chorus. Chorus is meant to simulate the subtle pitch and timing differences that occur when multiple musicians play the same note but vary slightly in pitch and timing. We can describe the sound of chorusing as a doubling effect that adds thickness and shimmer and helps a signal sound larger than it would normally on its own. Usually choruses use delay times of 15 to 35 milliseconds. But if we look at the manual for the Moog cluster flux, for example, we see that they use chorus times from 5 to 50 milliseconds. So let's take a look at the delay times for the Matriarch to see if we're in the ballpark. To determine the delay time, I've set up a loop back and recorded dry and wet signals with the fastest delay time, then calculated the distance between the recorded signals. Or if I was smart, I could have saved myself a bunch of time and trouble by reading the manual where the delay times are clearly printed. In general, chorus achieves subtle changes in pitch by modulating the delay time of the waveform with an LFO. We've got 2 LFOs on the Matriarch, and delay time seem to be in the ballpark, so let's see what we can come up with. Let's get patching. Quickly just going to set up an organ patch. Going to try to get it close to the one on the Roland. Cool. Close enough. Let's try the delay. This delay sounds so great. Okay, let's try the fastest delay time. And dry. And back to wet. Alright, sounds more like reverb than chorus, so let's modulate the time with our LFO here. Obviously over the top, but if we crank it up to audio rate, more chorus-like already. Sounds pretty good. Okay, but we can do better. If we leave it patched like this, we're not really getting any swirly movement, and we can actually hear the LFO. Gonna patch this into an attenuator, and patch my LFO into the attenuator input. By turning the attenuator, which is now controlling the amount the triangle LFO is modulating the delay time, we get a nice swirly chorus type sound. Now, obviously, we don't want to have to manually turn the knob, So I'm going to patch an LFO. Actually, first I'm going to go patch it into our attenuator, and from the attenuator out into the CV control input of our attenuator, which is modulating the delay, and a sine LFO into the attenuator input. So the sine LFO is modulating amount of modulation, and this attenuator is controlling how much it's modulating it. That sounds good. It's a little more subtle, a little over the top. Just do some fine tuning. I like that. Cool. Yeah, you can get a whole bunch of different types of chorusy sounds with just some tweaks. I think I'm going for a sort of more liquid, subtle chorus for now. Nice, I like that. Okay, let's try slightly modulating the pitch of oscillators 2 and 4 to help our chorus out a bit. That's a bit more than slight. There we go, that's pretty good. Too much? Good. Okay, let's speed up the LFO a bit. And maybe modulate the pulse width as well. Almost there. Let's just do a few more tweaks. Okay, I think that sounds good. Let's hear it dry. And about 50-50. Nice, pretty good chorus sound. Okay, I'm going to put the keyboard in latch mode and just experiment with the 2 attenuators and the LFO speed, subtle changes, so you can hear some of the different colors we can get. Nice. All right, let's move on to the next idea. Most of the first stereo chorus pedals and effects units weren't really stereo in the way we think of it now. One side was 100% dry and the other side was all wet. So let's try to make an old school vintage stereo chorus patch. So instead of using the instrument outs, I'm going to use the direct Euro out from the left channel and the direct delay out from the right. The direct delay is 100% wet. I've still got the instrument outs connected to my interface, so we can use those to compare to the wet-dry pair. Let's start by listening to the full wet and full dry together. I've got them hard panned and sent to a bus. And make sure the delay is off on the Matriarch itself. Sounds good, a little more subtle than the first patch. So there's our old school chorus patch. Let's have a closer listen to the wet and dry. That's the wet side. Let's have a listen to the dry side. And let's put them back together. If you're listening on headphones, it will make it easier to hear the subtleties with this one. Just doing a little tinkering again. Like I said, this one's a little bit more subtle, so I'm going to play wet and dry back to back. Change the imaging a bit while we're listening to the dry. Okay, let's try some more modulation. I'm going to take the aftertouch out of the back of the keyboard and plug it into rate input on our LFO. To get a little bit more control, I'm going to use a passive mixer to attenuate the aftertouch CV, so it should be easier to play. Yeah, I think that sounds better. Okay, throwing it into unison mode. Because this is the type of chorus Roland used on their old giant System 100 modular, I'm going to try programming in an acid sequence. Great, already sounds pretty cool. I think it's going to kind of sound like Tangerine Dream. Let's hear it. Okay, I've got a little swoopy pad set up for this part of the video. Let's make an adjustment here to the filter modulation. Okay, that's good. Okay, this time we're going to go for a stereo chorus. So we're going to take our triangle LFO, plug it into attenuator again, and out of the attenuator, we're going to go into a mult because we'll need a couple of copies of this. Out of the mult, we'll go into the CV input for time of the delay on the left channel. And out of the mult again into an attenuator, and we'll invert the CV with this attenuator. Then from the attenuator into the time input for the right channel of the delay. And we're going to use the sine LFO to modulate the amount of modulation again. So plug that into an attenuator, out of the attenuator into the CV input on our first attenuator. Said attenuator so many times, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right anymore. Anyway, let's just put delay into ping pong mode, and we're pretty much good to go. I'm going to put the keyboard in latch mode and bring in our chorus by turning up the mix knob. Stereo chorus, pretty sweet. Yeah, I really like this chorus sound. Make sure you have a listen on headphones so you can hear it pan from left to right. Nice and thick and different from all my chorus pedals. Cool. Okay, I'm taking keyboard aftertouch with an inline attenuator and plugging it into the CV control in for this attenuator. Oh. That's cool. So with aftertouch, now we're modulating the amount of the sine LFO being sent to the attenuator, which is modulating the amount of triangle LFO being sent to modulate the time. That's a mouthful. Okay, so now I've got it patched into a mult, the aftertouch into a mult, and I'm going to modulate both the amount of sine being sent to the other attenuator as well as rate. Now we're going to get into some more original weirdo sounds. Cool. With Aftertouch, it really makes it more fun to play. It can make it a really expressive patch. All right, let's try something else. Let's try plugging the Aftertouch into the rate in of our triangle allophone. That one's cool. It sounds like wings or something like that. Bat wings. Okay, now I've got it malted to all 3 locations. Yeah, that one's oh. I was gonna say that's over the top, but that's kind of neat. Okay, haven't even talked about feedback yet. Let's experiment with that. Feedback's a common parameter on most choruses, but let's try patching the envelope into the feedback amount, see what happens. Yeah, I really like that. That's cool. Let's try a little bit more feedback. Okay, another modulation idea. So at the moment, I've got my filter envelope going into this inline mixer, which is just modulating cutoff 2. So I'm going to put another mult in here and put that patch back. But then I'm going to take this copy out and I'm going to use it to modulate our time amount. Sorry, triangle LFO amount. So now our delay time is essentially being modulated by the filter envelope, so we're getting these really eerie, creepy pitch bends. Let's experiment a bit. So attack and decay on the envelope dictate how long it takes for it to come back in tune. Cool. Okay, one last idea. We're going to try processing some external audio with the Matriarch. Putting the Matriarch in drone mode, then coming straight out of my interface into the noise input on the Matriarch. and make sure you've got all your oscillators turned down. All right, we're going to try putting some chorus on this bass, but first let's add some drums. And I've got an I/O plugin on an effects bus, which will just send this signal directly to the Matriarch, essentially turning the Matriarch into a plugin. Now we can play around in real time. Just hear the bass by itself. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Of course, we can play with our chorus parameters, but we've also got this filter to work with. Okay, I think that's probably about all the ideas I have for our chorus patch for now. Thanks very much for watching. I hope this gives you some ideas, and guess I'll see you next time.